Department Continuum of Care, our multidisciplinary approaches to end homelessness webinar series. And for this series, we have a very important resource that is going to be presented to you by the Riverside County Department of Children and Department of Child Support Services. So thank everyone for being part of these series, and we look forward to many more to come. And also just to remind, I just want to let everyone know, be sure to stay towards the end, because we also will be asking you guys to do a short survey regarding these webinars. So without further ado, I want to introduce Paola Castro and Mr. Lee, or Lay, from the Riverside County Department of Child Support Services to talk about what it is that they do at their department and how this resource can support all of our agencies. Thank you. I'll turn it over to you, Paola.
Oh, thank you so much. I know we threw in like 2 really difficult names for you to make it really hard. But you did an awesome job. Yeah, my name is Paola Castro. I'm a supervising attorney with the Department of Child Support Services. I've been a child support attorney for about 11 years. And I've worked in a couple of different counties. I worked in Tulare County in Central California, in Orange County, and most recently now in Riverside County. So really happy to be here today and share some basic information regarding our program, and hopefully it will help everyone refer them to us so we can continue to support the families in Riverside County.
And hello, everybody. My name is Sotera Lee. I am a media production specialist here at RivCo DCSS. I've been doing media production for about 7+ years now in education and government agencies. And I'm excited to show you guys how I can help my community with my skills and resources.
Yeah, so Tara really helps us out with all of the technology, outreach media, which is crucial to, helping customers know what we do and where we are. So I'm very appreciative of Sotera, because also he's kind of running the show here and making sure we have this very nice studio to present this webinar and I don't mess anything up. Okay. So with that, we'll get started. So this is a picture of where our buildings are. So we're located in the city of Riverside on Iowa Avenue, and it's next to, I believe, the EDD. So you will see these 3 buildings, and all 3 buildings in that little area are part of the Department of Child Support Services, and we have our name really big, and hopefully nobody misses us, but it is kind of a little bit hard to see where they go. So if you refer parents over to our department, the 2081 building is the customer service building and also the legal center. So that's where customers should be reporting to. Right? Okay. So a little history about the child support program. I know there's a lot of misinformation about who we are, how we came to be. So I just want to give a very brief overview. So we are a Title 4D agency. So Title 4D of the Social Security Act, so a federally created agency. Every state in the United States has to have a Title 4D agency for child support enforcement. In California, the structure is to have a statewide department, so the California Department of Child Support Services, that oversees and provides policy and regulation to the local child support offices that are in the 58 counties in California, Riverside County being one of them. Our funding comes from the state and from the federal government, similar to other Social Security agencies like DPSS. We have a mix of funding, and that also means we have a mix of laws and regulations that govern the work that we do. So some federal performance measures, regulations, as well as state law that govern the establishment of parentage, enforcement of child support, and collection and performance of the program. So I think this is a nice little visual of kind of where we came from. And, initially the Title IV Social Security Act was passed, as aid to families back in 1935. And then it evolved into something that, because of politically motivated, issues, they wanted to make sure that the aid that was being provided to families under the Title IV Social Security Act was a balanced approach to helping families. And they wanted to recoup some of the money that was being paid to families. So in 1974, the Title IV program was meant to help pay back the state of California or the other states that were providing this money, and help increase responsibility of support for children. And I want to explain that because that has been kind of one of the most difficult parts of the program, because it started as a very collection intensive program. It kind of fell down to the offices of like the district attorney, enforcement driven. So I would say up to 2000, child support in California was strictly managed by the district attorney, who we know manages criminal cases for the county. So it associated family support cases like criminal cases, and that's definitely not where the services support for children should have been, but that was based on the history of the legislation that gave birth to these agencies. So kind of fast forward into the early 2000s, and we broke off from the DA, and we were independent local child support agencies under federal and state regulation, and more of a family support service, not a prosecutorial agency. But because it was like that for many years, that's one of the messaging struggles for the department, making sure that parents are not scared of us and not thinking that we're thinking of someone not paying support in one way and someone receiving support in another way. Next slide. Okay, so our main services are establishing parentage, establishing support orders or enforcing support orders that have already been established, and also providing medical support orders. So those are kind of the three pillars of services that we provide for the families. And each one of these things, it's its own 4-hour presentation. So I'm gonna be brief, but just know that you guys wouldn't want to go down that maze, believe me, a rabbit hole. But those are kind of like our core functions. We're gonna help establish who the legal father is, and we're gonna calculate an amount of support and also get an order for medical support for the child. What we don't do. So this is kind of the part where you guys can be helpful to us, because a lot of parents think we do some things because we're the Department of Child Support Services, and they're things that are very closely connected. So intuitively, for practical purposes, it makes sense that we would do them, but we don't. As a federally funded agency, we have very strict roles that we have, and funding to only do very limited things. That's how I explain it to parents, because some of these things make sense that we should do them, but we don't because the money's not there, the regulation and the scope of our services has not been expanded. So parents come in and ask if we can help them establish a custody or visitation order. So an order that's going to state who has legal and physical control of the child. We don't do that. That's strictly through the family court. So the family court does have usually court mediation services, and they have skilled mediators. Some of them have, like child welfare background, or some of them have like a psychological, some kind of like psychology, forensic interviewing background when they hire these mediators, and they work through the court and they help families mediate custody visitation issues. And if they cannot resolve them there, it gets referred to the family court, and then they make a decision. But that's a service strictly provided by the Riverside County Superior Court, and it's the same in every other county. So if parents have issues with deciding how they're going to dictate who will control the physical or legal custody of the child, that's through the family court, and the Family Law Assistance Center can help them establish those custody and visitation orders. Another thing, restraining orders. When families come in, we do ask them about any family violence history, if there's any restraining orders, because we want to make sure we're respectful of those orders when they come to meet with us, when they're in court. so we can provide a safe and comfortable space for everyone, but we don't establish them. We cannot help families with restraining orders either. We refer those issues again to the Riverside County Superior Court, and if they need further assistance, to the Family Law Assistance Center. Another thing, spousal support. Again, it would go hand in hand. Then we handle child support, so we would also help establish spousal support, but we don't. That would have to be again through the family court. What we do on spousal support is if the order is made along with a child support order, we will collect on both of them. So we don't modify them, don't establish them, but if the parent has one, we'll put it in the system and we'll collect it alongside with the child support order. So that is a service that we do provide on spousal support only. And lovely slide with babies, because that never hurts. We work with everyone, okay? I feel like I just spent like an hour on this slide, but I won't. But we're here for everyone. We don't represent anyone though, which is sometimes difficult because parents come and say, Paola, you're a lawyer. Are you my lawyer? And I'm like, no, I'm not your lawyer. None of the lawyers that work here work specifically for you, meaning they're not your lawyer that's going to zealously represent you in court and make sure you win. You know, that kind of mentality. We don't do that. But we have lawyers that are government lawyers. We serve the public interest, and we want to make sure that we put the right information, follow the right law, and get the right size order so that we can collect it and send the money to the families. And that means in order to do that, we have to work with everyone: dad, mom, the legal guardian, sometimes the foster care agency, to get the right information, to get the right order. So we do work with everyone, but we don't represent anyone. All right. So just a little overview of the cases that we do get. A large number of our cases are service requests or referrals from the Department of Public Social Services, CalWORKs applicants in California. When you apply for public assistance, cash assistance, so it's the money that triggers it, because a family can apply for food stamps, they can apply for Medi-Cal only, and that's not going to send them our way. What's going to trigger that is when there's money that's being paid, the CalWORKs money to the family. If there is an absent parent in that household, they sign a form that assigns the child support to the County of Riverside, saying, you will give me this grant money of $1,000 for my family, and then you will agree that we can establish a support order and collect this money from the absent parent. So that's the reality of that recoupment legislation that started in the 70s. So all of those cases get referred over to the Department of Child Support Services. And that's a large portion of the cases, families that are already receiving public assistance. The other portion of our cases is non-welfare applications. So the voluntary applications that anyone can ask for. So any parent, legal guardian with a child that needs support, they can open up an application and we can help them. The same, menu of services is available to parents that don't receive public assistance. And sometimes parents think that we're only here for the cases where parents are receiving CalWORKs. That is not the case. We serve all families, and there are no restrictions on who will serve. If there's families and there's children, send them our way so that we can open up a case and help them. The other cases that we have are intergovernmental ones. So the state of California, as well as other states, work together to help locate parents. So say if we have a family and children in Florida, and they know that the other parent responsible for support lives in California, Florida will contact us, ask us to locate them and establish an order. And then we will do the same process, and then we'll send the money to Florida for that family. And the other states do the same for California. We have a family here, but the other parent lives in another state. We handle those interstate requests. And in all of our cases, we have a person that is receiving support, but that's not always a parent. That could be a legal guardian, or it can be foster care. And that's something that a lot of families don't know. They're like, oh, I'm not the mom, or I'm not the dad. I don't get child support. If you're a legal guardian in California, you're entitled to the same child support services. So we refer to it not as parent paying support, as person receiving support, because families can be structured in so many different ways. And we would like to make sure that families know that we can provide support for legal guardians as well. And then we have a parent that's paying support. And then, of course, a dependent child. And I use the word child because the majority of the time it is a minor child that we give services for. But under California law, if a child is severely disabled and they will not be able to be self-supporting to work, support themselves, they qualify for for extended child support, like for the rest of their lives even. There's no limit. And sometimes parents don't know that. They don't know that they can get support for an adult disabled child. So wanted to share that in case that's something that comes up with the customer base that you guys have. You may want to send them our way just to like review the case and see if there's anything that we can do for them. Next slide, please. All right. So just a little bit about the establishment process and parentage. So this is one of the main services that the department provides, and it's our first federal performance measure, which is establishing paternity and parentage, because under California law and law in most states, there's so many rights, privileges that come with being the legal child of someone. Disability benefits, Social Security benefits, all of these things. So California, as well as the federal government, they want to ensure that we establish parentage as soon as possible in the best way possible so that children have those two individuals identified and they can receive all of the rights and protections under the law. So in California, the first way to establish parentage is by marriage. If two people are married, they conceive a child within the marriage. As a matter of law, that's a child of the marriage, and parentage is established by law. Not everyone is married. So that's where the voluntary declaration of parentage comes along. That is a program that allows parents at hospitals, child welfare offices, child support offices to come to essentially stip an agreement, sign forms where they legally identify themselves as the parents. And those forms signed at the hospital, the welfare office, or our office have the same full force and effect as a judgment obtained in court, which sometimes parents don't understand. So they have the same impact. It's like having a court order. It's like just as good, but it's an administrative process that happens at hospitals and child welfare offices that helps establish parentage quickly. It can also be done by agreement. Once we file an action, if one of those two does not apply, they can stipulate to be the parents. And then all three of the situations, parentage can be challenged. Again, that's its own separate presentation. And if it is challenged and genetic testing needs to be completed, genetic testing is offered free of charge to the department. We have our own vendor. We set up the appointments, provide the location, and parents don't have to pay for it. So that's another thing parents sometimes think, oh, I'm going to have to pay for the genetic testing. They will not. The Department of Child Support Services covers that 100%, and there's no fee, copay, nothing. We'll handle it. So if that's something they want or need, send them our way, because I know genetic testing is expensive if you do it on your own. Okay, we go to the next one. Okay. So after we get through the whole case opening, we establish parentage, we get down to the nuts and bolts, and we calculate the amount of support, which is largely the focus of what the attorneys do. What we do in the legal center is gather all the information so that we can calculate the correct child support order. And in the simplest terms, child support is based on a parent's income and the percentage of time that is spent with the children. There are a lot of other factors, and if anyone who's familiar with the calculation of support in California, it looks like a tax return. It's like if anyone does their taxes like through H&R Block or TurboTax, it's a whole bunch of information. But the two biggest variables, the two biggest factors are income and how much you see your children. So that's the information we always want to have from parents and that we sometimes struggle to get. And it's really what drives the number up or down. So that's really what child support is based on. So if you ever have to explain to a parent how they calculate child support, that's a very safe explanation. It's based on your income and how much you see the child. And this is true. So if there's any changes to those two things, you want to notify us and let us know, because your support may need to go up or maybe down. Again, we have a court process for these things, but parties can stipulate to child support. They don't have to go to court. If they have a number in mind, we can help walk them through what that process would be like, so send them our way. But some don't agree, a lot of them. That's why we still need all the lawyers in our office, because a lot of parents can't see eye to eye on things when it comes to their children and their money. They're two of the most sensitive things for an individual. So we do have a child support courtroom with a commissioner that acts as a temporary judge, and that's the way child support cases are done in California. And if they can't agree, after we meet with them and give them, our red carpet treatment in the legal center, they still don't want to, we have the courtroom for them. But either one of those is a good way to resolve the case, which is either come in, talk to us, stipulate, or go to court. The worst possible way is to not participate. Because if you don't do anything at all, it completely ignore us. California law allows us to go forward anyways and obtain a default order. So an order without your participation. So that means it's not going to have your right income, maybe the right visitation. It's going to be an amount that you're going to look at. And usually it's an amount that parents say, that information is wrong. None of that is correct. And we say, I know, we're trying to reach you for a long time, and you still didn't come to us. But even once they don't, even if they have a default, send them our way, because there's things under the law that we can do to possibly correct it, adjust it, if they come within a timely manner. So either way, whether they participated or didn't, send them our way so that we can discuss how to get it right. But just inform parties that if they just ignore us and they pretend like it's just going to go away, it's not going to go away. We have a lot of resources that ensure that it doesn't go away. And we'll get into it in the next slide. So what I mean by we don't go away is because we have the backing of the federal and state government that has given the Department of Child Support Services a lot of tools to enforce child support orders and collect child support orders. And these are things that are meant for good things, but also create barriers to parents. So if you have a case with the Department of Child Support Services, all our cases are enforced by wage assignment. So we're required to have an income withholding order, send it to an employer so that we can collect the child support. If you don't participate, you still get the order, and then you will be surprised and they'll say, oh my gosh, they just took $400 from my check. We have done what the state of California and the federal government has asked of us. We tried to contact them, they didn't. So they will have their wages garnished and they won't know about it. It still happens when you participate, but it will be something you know about, that you'll expect, and it'll be an amount that you're prepared to pay, and that's based on the correct information. So the wage garnishment is not going to be as difficult for that family because they know it's coming, they can plan for it, they're involved in the process, as opposed to how somebody just, getting hit with that information. If you don't pay your support and you have what we call arrears, so back owed child support, we can suspend your license, and not just your driver's license. We can suspend medical licenses, attorney licenses, fish and wildlife licenses. Any license you can pretty much get in California, nursing, teaching. We put that, you could have it suspended if you owe child support. So like I said, it's a very, what I say, aggressive, expansive range of enforcement that can happen if you don't pay your support. We also hit your credit reporting. So we report to all the bureaus that you're past due in support. So it will affect your ability to get loans, housing, all of these things. And that's a barrier to finding even an apartment, housing, all of those things. We want to ensure that we have the correct amount so that parents don't get into arrears, because the consequences are serious when they do. We also do bank levies. We don't want to take anybody's money if we don't have to. We know that families are on limited budgets. Everyone that we serve, again, we want to have the right amount so they don't fall behind, and we don't have to do bank levies. We can also suspend passports. If you have more than $2,500 in arrears, your federal passport will be affected. It could either be suspended or it can be put on hold. So you could be traveling, thinking you can enter the country, and they're going to stop you. They're going to say something came up with your passport. So again, very serious consequences. And then real property liens. If you own a home, if somebody gives you a home, or if you ever plan to have any real property, we're going to put a lien on it to ensure that we can collect any money that's owed when that home is sold. And then lastly, we can also intercept your federal and state refund. So if you don't pay your support and you're owed money from the government, no, you're not. We're gonna say, they owe child support. Again, these are measures that exist because sometimes we have to do it. We don't want to do it, but the law allows us to do it. The parents that have the appropriate orders and communicate with the department shouldn't have arrears. We should be able to be balancing that, and hopefully some of these enforcement actions will affect less and less families, but they exist, they're there, and they do affect a lot of our cases. That's the reality. But part of us being here today and helping pass through this information is just to say, go to child support. If you can't afford what you're paying, it's too high, go to child support so your license doesn't keep getting suspended. They can help. Okay. And again, anyone can contact us. We don't just serve the parent receiving support. Anyone that has a change of income, visitation has changed, if your family has grown, these are all factors that could affect how much you pay in child support. So contact us so that we can run the numbers again or go over your case to see what options you have to make the child support obligation affordable. You know, our orders are only as good as the commitment that parents have to the department, essentially. And what I mean by that is we can get a really, really high order and one party will be really happy, like, oh, it's $1,000. But if that $1,000 is not rooted on the correct information, the appropriate ability that a parent has to pay, it doesn't matter. It's like phantom money in our books and we can't collect it. So it's better to get the right number. And if that number is $300, you will consistently get that $300. You will be able to base your budget expenses around that. And that's the better number because it's real. It will lead to a real change and support in your family's life. And that's what we want to do. We want to get orders that make sense, that are appropriate, and that we can collect and send to the families. So that's kind of the goal here. And with that goal, we have a lot of different programs that can assist parents kind of handle some of the debt they might have if it's owed to the government. So if you have child support arrears that accrued during the time that the family was receiving CalWORKs, that money, as I explained, is assigned to the county of Riverside, to the state of California. So we have passed laws that help us waive, negotiate, reduce that debt based on certain criteria. So if a parent has a large child support balance, send them our way. It could be owed to the state of California. And we have a program that would allow them to pay a fraction of the debt if they meet certain criteria. So it's basically a compromise of the debt through the state of California, but that's only for money that's owed to the government. If it's owed to the other parent, we cannot waive that money. It's owed until paid in full, but it could be a mix and we could help them. So send them our way so we can go through the debt reduction program criteria and see if they qualify. We also keep a list of all the resources that are available in the county. So when they come and if they need help with work, housing, food, we're able to send those, give them referrals and send them to the appropriate agency. But our biggest resource here is the family law facilitator. So the lawyers that work with the court that can help them fill out forms and file them with the court. And it's free of charge. They're here in our office. So that's a huge resource here. And then we do refer some parents that are not able to get all their assistance through the family law facilitator to Inland Empire Legal Services. And we also do a lot of referrals to EDD and DPSS. And with that, I'm going to pass it on to Satara to kind of go over everything we covered during the first part of the presentation.
Yeah, so to summarize, this is how the process of the child support case is going to look like. So for step one, we have apply for child support services. And again, either parent can apply or for support or open a child service case, and doesn't have to be the parent. It could be a legal guardian or anything like that. Then we go to step two, which is locate the parents if necessary. So before a child support order can be made, both parents or the child, both parents of the child or children must be located. And again, that is not a standalone service that is offered. There needs to be a case open for us to be able to locate the other party. And then so step three, we have summons and complaint. Once the parents both sides are located, they will be legally notified that they're named in a child support case. And then if there's a dispute that they are named in the child support case, then we move on to step four, which is the right to request proof of legal parentage, and will help you cover the fee. Usually that involves the DNA testing that we spoke about earlier. Next slide. And step five, go back one, please. It is that quickly though, so. Step five is if both parties can come to an agreement in terms of how much payment should be made, then they can file what's called a stipulated agreement. And that way they just both agree to have the same amount of, or have the support. And if they can't come to an agreement, then we move on to step six, where the court sets the child support order. And again, that is when a judge or commissioner reviews your information and decides on a child support amount. Now that's usually based on a certain formula, and it's called the child support guideline calculation, and it's created by the state of California. And you can find more information about that on the state's website itself. And then, so once that payment amount has been decided upon, we move on to step seven, which is where you begin making payments. So the person paying for support is going to be paying it. Usually it's through payroll deduction, but there are other forms that they can pay, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But in case they don't pay, we'll move on to step eight, which is enforce the child support order. Parents who refuse to pay or delay paying their child support face enforcement actions and interest charges. And like we said before, that would be license suspension, bank levies, and all that other fun stuff. Next slide, please. And then if there are any changes to either party's circumstances, as terms of one of the parties lost their job or anything like that, we may be able to file what we call a modification. And then if in any case, if the case needs to be closed, then we can go ahead and close that out for you.
Yeah, and there's many different reasons why we close cases. It could be because the parents no longer need our services. It could be because the child's already an adult, everything's paid in full, but we have a bunch of regulation codes about when cases close, in case you were wondering, but it is possible to close a child support case just as well as it is to open one.
Next slide, please. Okay, so we have three branches. We have our biggest and probably main branch in Riverside, and that's on 2081 Iowa Avenue. And then we also have a location in Indio, which is 47950 Arabia Street. And then we also have one in Blythe at 260 North Broadway. And that would be with the other departments such as family law and I believe, blanking on the other ones. Their environmental protection agency, I believe, is also in that same location. So
yeah,
there's a bunch of other resources that are there. Next slide, please. If you cannot come to any of these locations, we can also meet you virtually through Teams. If you visit our website at RivCoDCSS.com, you can schedule an appointment to meet with any of our child support specialists, and we can schedule an appointment from Monday through Friday from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m.
And we have a live chat feature. So we have customer service representatives that are, something triggers them when a person is on the website, and they connect with them to see if they're looking for some information, if they can help them. So going to our website, it's a very good resource for families.
And if you can't visit our website, you can call us at 866-901-3212. Again, that's 866-901-3212. And you can call us any day, Monday through Friday from 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. We also speak in English and Spanish. So if you have any multilingual or Spanish speaking only people, you can call us and we'll give you the help that you need.
And if it's another language, the call center does have a resource to reach out to a translation service that can help them with a variety of languages. They have a contract with a service. So Vietnamese, Russian, Farsi, any other language, usually we're able to still get some communication service.
And this is our live chat feature that we spoke about earlier. It's built into the main page of our website. So as long as you visit the website, there'll be a pop-up at the bottom right that'll just pop up and expand like a message system. And then you can talk to a live child support specialist right then and there. It's pretty instant and it's pretty great to get information right there. So if you visit the website from Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., you can just go to the pop-up and speak to a representative there. Next slide, please. And here are the ways, the many ways that we have that you can pay. We have PayPal, Pay Near Me, MoneyGram, online payment, touch pay, mail payment, and payment by phone. Next slide, please. And here are the court facilities that we talked about earlier for the family law court. We have one in Riverside, Indio, Hemet, and Blythe. So if you need any help in terms of legal and you have your court cases, these are the places that you would go to attend those court hearings. Next slide, please. And again, we're here to help both parents, not just the person receiving support or the person paying support. We help both parties. Please contact us and learn more by calling us at 866-901-3212 or visiting RivCoDCSS.com or following us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at RivCoDCSS.
That's all we have for you guys. Any questions?
Thank you for that, Paula and Sothera. Maybe if you guys want to share a little more about your experience. So our audience in our webinars, right, are service providers that are working with clients, right? Some of their clients might need these supports, right? But where do you see the correlation with folks, in a situation where they're either paying child support or waiting to receive it and homelessness, right? Like, have you guys experienced any of those cases? Where are those correlations and how do you, work with families, right, who might be experiencing homelessness or if this is a cause for homelessness?
Absolutely. So we do have a lot of parents that are in that transitional situation in their lives for many reasons. And they are sometimes needing support, or sometimes they have support that they owe that could be could be a barrier to obtaining housing or stability. Like I said, we have parents that owe support and will have suspended their license, reported things on their credit, levied their bank account, which can be very difficult things financially to go through and could lead to homelessness or financial instability. So if you are serving a customer or client that is experiencing and they have a child support case, there's a variety of things that we can do. We're limited by some things, but any way that we could help them, any barrier that we may be creating that's stopping them from finding housing or becoming more stable, we're willing to collaborate with parents to do that. For example, if a parent is experiencing that they're unemployed, no housing, that could be a basis for modifying their support order to 0. Not forever, but until they can find some kind of stability. So there is discretion built into the law that would help them modify their support order to help them not have to have that be one of the things they worry about as they're trying to stabilize themselves. And the same thing for the other side. If they're looking to find someone because they have children and they are not receiving any financial assistance, we can help locate the other parent, assist them with getting payments, and they will do a lot of the heavy lifting of locating, getting the money, calculating. And if there's any history of like I said, family violence, we're kind of that middle part that can create that separation where they don't have to have that interaction. We can structure things so that you can still get the services, even if, like, say, for example, you are homeless because you've had to leave a certain place because you're facing family violence. We are aware of those situations and we can help in that way. So I think those are the two main areas where we see that a correlation. Either a parent with children that's been displaced and needs financial assistance, or the parent that's paying support has been displaced and child support has become a debt that is really stopping them from moving forward.
Thank you, Paula, for that. And Rashana has another question. And then I think I saw Melanie's hand. So go ahead, Rashana.
And forgive me if this was answered. I had to step away from my desk for a little bit. But do you guys assist with the California, the Compromise in Arrears program
We do.
for
That's a
households?
Yes, we do. So the program is now called, it used to be called Compromise of Arrears, it's now the Debt Reduction Program. And it is a way that you can negotiate your debt with the government, but that's only the debt that's owed to the government. So if it's a debt that's owed to the other parent, we don't have authority to waive that, cancel that. It's only the money that's owed to the state of California. But we will
And
help them with, yes.
I'm sorry, you can go ahead.
No, and I was saying, we will help them with reviewing the case, going through the requirements, the application process. We do handle all of that within the department.
And the reason why I asked that is because that's good to know for our providers if they're working with households who the parent may owe back child support if the other parent received maybe CalWorks or some other federal funding and the state is going after them or the federal government is going after them for owed child support. So that's important to know for our providers.
And then we have and you might have answered this, Paula, but Greg, are you on to ask the question from the chat?
Yeah, sorry, I was on a call with
No
IT, but really great presentation. Thank you. My question is, I put in the chat, is like, say a parent, has some illness, they temporarily lose income or have a decrease in income. Is there like a pro rata payment they can do based on what the original amount was, or like a temporary block? Not block.
Absolutely. We can do a modification based on those changes in their income, health circumstances. If they're not able to work, if they have lost their job, all of those would trigger a review for us, and they would just need to notify us, and we would handle all of the forms to get that into court and get them a court hearing, or possibly resolve it in our legal center through a stipulation. So absolutely.
Okay, and so you take more of like a proactive approach.
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. I thought so. I just want to clarify that. So thank you.
Absolutely. But sometimes parents don't know. They think like that's the order they made. It doesn't change. Absolutely, it can change. It can be modified at any point in time. And there's no limit to the modifications that you can do. It's just based if there's a change of circumstance that's substantially going to affect the amount of support. And all of the ones you listed would qualify.
Right. And I think that's good for especially all the participants to know, because especially coming from the homeless and housing side of stuff, is that, this really can be a prevention tool for those that, to prevent them from falling in. So thank you so much. Thank you.
And then I see another question. What type of support do you have for incarcerated individuals before they come in or come out? Very good. So in California, there is a statute. It's Family Code 4007.5. And it states that if a parent owing support is incarcerated more than 90 days, and our system gets notification when a parent is incarcerated, not real time, of course, parents are always still the best source to notify us, I'm incarcerated or someone's incarcerated, but our system will receive that information and we can administratively suspend the support in the system. So that doesn't even require any court at all. It just requires that we know that they have a child support order, that they're incarcerated more than 90 days or expect to be incarcerated more than 90 days. We can administratively suspend the support in our system. And then once they get released, it does reinstate the month following release. But as soon as they're released, they can contact us so that we could possibly file a modification or evaluate the barriers they might have in finding employment, depending on the crime they've committed. So absolutely, like within those 30 days from being released, they want to contact us so that we can modify the order and talk about their case.
Thank you for answering the questions
Of
in
course.
the chat. If anyone else has any other questions, feel free to raise your hand or unmute and ask, or type it into the chat. And while folks think of other questions, if there are any other questions, we just kind of want to introduce, like Rashana mentioned at the beginning of our webinar, right? Thank you again so much to our presenters. We try really hard to make sure that all the topics that are discussed during our webinars are beneficial to folks, right? That it relates to the clients that you're serving, that it relates to, right, how you're looking for resources, how you're going about our system, right? And so every webinar should be a tool, right, that folks are able to add, right? It should be a new contact, it should be a new resource, right? And it should be beneficial to you and the clients, right? Those that are providing the direct service and those that are receiving services. And so we're going to incorporate a link to a survey, and Jesus has been amazing from our team, and he put it in the chat. If everyone can take the last few minutes, right, if you still have questions, please feel free to continue to ask. But if we can ask everybody on this call to please, if you're able to click on the link. If you're not able to access it, please let us know, but please click the link. It's really short, brief. It's a few questions. And again, this is meant to really help, right, support and enhance our webinars, what topics are discussed, what presenters are, coming on every month, and then what are your needs, right? So the recommendation for webinar topics is what are your needs? What are the topics that you want to see discussed? What are the resources that you still need, right? What do your clients still need, and how can we provide that through these webinars? So please take some time to fill out that survey. And then if you have any other questions, please feel free to ask our presenters.
Nice, we answered everything. Perfect. Okay, A+.
Awesome.
You can always I don't know if my email was provided, but yeah, email me, call me. I do get a lot of emails, but I will try to definitely answer it. I don't know if it was provided there, but yeah, that can definitely be shared if there's any question that comes after. It's a simple one. It's just at pcastro@rivco.org. You can shoot me an email, and hopefully I can help assist or answer a question or direct you to the right person that can assist you with your question or request. I think I'm going to post my email on the chat so that we can, if you do have any questions, you can definitely email me.
Are you guys able to type in the chat? So
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Yes, so here's the contact information. So if there are no other questions, and if you are still filling out the survey, please go ahead and do so. We will close the survey at the end of the day to make sure that we're ready to go for the next webinar. And our team will review all of the feedback that we receive. We'll review topics, right? Any recommendations, as well as folks that you want us to incorporate. But thank you everyone again for joining our webinars. Thank you to our speakers. If we can please use the little hand emoji or the reaction, and if we can clap for our speakers or unmute and just say something very positive, right? We appreciate their time. We appreciate all the great information, right? Knowledge is power, and we need to always keep that in mind and know that, right, the best thing we can do for folks is share valuable information and share valuable knowledge and experience. So thank you everyone again on this call. Thank you for coming and gathering these resources for your clients. And as always, we always have amazing speakers. So thank you so much, Paola and Sothera, for being here today. And I hope everyone has an amazing rest of their week. Good weekend. Please take care of yourselves. You all are doing amazing work out here. And again, our COC is here as a resource. So please let us know how we can better connect with you, your agency, and your clients, and support our mission to end homelessness in Riverside County. So thank you again, everyone. Have a nice rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you,
everyone.